All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're tackling something huge, a massive black box sitting right at the intersection of the tech and financial sectors. And we're going to look at how an independent laboratory called Sutton Audio and Power LLC is stepping up to solve it. We're exploring exactly how they're taking the incredibly opaque, totally unquantifiable risks associated with artificial intelligence and transforming them into hard, verifiable, insurable data. Look, if you're an insurance underwriter or an enterprise startup founder, understanding this shift is absolutely crucial for your future operational stability.
So here is our quick agenda for today. We'll start with the AI liability gap, then we'll look at the Gatekeeper strategy, followed by quantifying unseen risks. After that, we dive into the Neuroplasticity Vulnerability Index, how they are protecting the vault, and finally, we'll wrap up with industrial forensics for AI.
Now, think about this for a second. How do you insure a system you literally cannot measure? Because that's the fundamental black box challenge facing every single insurance underwriter and enterprise startup today. As AI integration accelerates at just a breakneck pace, the people actually holding the financial risk, the insurers, are essentially flying blind. I mean, they're being asked to underwrite massive liabilities for large language models without any standardized oversight or really any quantifiable metric of how stable that system is actually going to be over time.
This really hits the nail on the head. Current AI safety basically relies entirely on self-attestation. The companies building the AI are the exact same ones telling us it's safe. But you wouldn't let a chemical plant just self-report its own environmental impact without independent instruments verifying it, right? So why in the world are we doing that with critical digital infrastructure? Sutton Audio and Power points out that this trust us approach is just fundamentally incompatible with mitigating real public or financial risk.
Okay, Section 1, the AI Liability Gap.
If you compare the two approaches, the contrast is wild. We are moving far away from the high-variance liability of the status quo and heading toward the verifiable, hard science reality of the Sutton standard. The status quo relies on what we call hallucinated safety, essentially taking a tech company's word for it and letting their marketing department act as the audit. Sutton, on the other hand, utilizes industrial forensics. They rely on empirical observation and immutable hash chains. It's basically the difference between blindly trusting a candidate's resume and running a full, unedited background check to see exactly what they did under pressure.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Gatekeeper strategy.
So how exactly does Sutton pull off this objective oversight without totally compromising an enterprise's deeply integrated infrastructure? Well, the absolutely crucial point here is their zero-footprint mandate. Sutton operates completely externally. That means absolutely no software, no tracking scripts, and no internal dependencies are ever installed on your proprietary hardware. None. Instead, clients provide read-only API access or encrypted data drops. Sutton ingests these interaction logs and processes the whole shebang entirely off-grid. It's a strictly observational approach. It guarantees structural safety for you, the client, while maintaining absolute objective distance for the audit.
Section 3. Quantifying unseen risks.
This brings us to the Synthetic Probability Index, or SPI. Instead of relying on traditional endpoint detection, which, let's be honest, is totally blind to new AI-generated payloads, Sutton uses their proprietary glassmouth software to analyze the deep semantic intent and linguistic patterns of intercepted data. It strips away all the context and just looks at the raw structural syntax. To put it simply for those outside of development, code of human origin has high entropy. Humans are naturally messy. We use esoteric naming conventions. We leave weird notes in the margins. It's chaotic. Glassmouth mathematically scores these structural anomalies and semantic hallmarks to find the true origin.
And it's kind of ironic, really. Human operators writing quick exploit code are messy, but AI models mathematically optimize for generalized readability. So if code or text registers in this specific index range, between 0.76 and 1.00, it's a massive red flag. It indicates pure synthetic origin. It's characterized by perfect tutorial-style syntax over compliance, or what Sutton calls formatting rigidity. Spotting that too-perfect rigidity is exactly how Sutton traps it.
So, for the financial professionals tuning in, what does this actually mean for you? Well, this index translates highly technical diagnostic data into direct underwriting benefits. It literally gives you the technical foundation to actually approve or deny coverage based on reality, not guesswork. It allows for premium optimization based on hard safety scores, and crucially, it drives loss prevention by detecting systemic instability early. Ultimately, this is all about mitigating your massive errors and omissions, or E&O liability.
Okay, Section 4, the Neuroplasticity Vulnerability Index.
Because, look, AI isn't just a static piece of software. It actually changes as humans interact with it. The NVI is an incredibly powerful tool because it treats the AI as a dynamic ecosystem, one that's genuinely susceptible to narrative capture and sycophancy. Sutton understands that continuous human interaction actually alters the reasoning pathways inside the black box. The NVI measures exactly how much the system yields or degrades when put under sustained conversational pressure.
By mapping out these specific friction points, Sutton converts what used to be just qualitative system degradation into a hard, actionable threat level score for enterprise startups. It identifies things like transactional appeasement, which is essentially when an AI starts lying or hallucinating just to satisfy the user's prompt and bypass its own safety guardrails. Tracking this systemic drift is exactly how Sutton proves an AI model's real-world endurance.
Section 5. Protecting the vaults. Now, with all this incredibly advanced analysis happening, protecting proprietary intelligence and sensitive raw data is absolutely non-negotiable. Establishing this absolute air-gapped boundary is how the firm ensures its methodologies cannot be reverse-engineered or legally subpoenaed. The baseline mathematical formulas, the equations for the normative sentient standard, or NSS, and the Python scripts driving Glassmouth, they are never connected to the public cloud. They live completely offline. Sutton strictly protects these vault assets. They are never going to reveal that underlying math or Python code to clients or competitors. Period.
This ironclad approach assures clients that while they receive high-fidelity vulnerability blueprints and exact drift signatures, the underlying secret sauce of the audit remains totally secure and off-grid. You get the detailed map showing exactly where your AI is failing, for sure, but the radar system that found it, that remains completely proprietary and untouchable.
Plus, Sutton literally operates out of a self-sustained infrastructure in an independent high-desert laboratory. It's powered entirely by their own solar and wind matrices to guarantee uninterrupted computational runtime. And perhaps most importantly for enterprise clients, Sutton enforces a strict 48-hour cryptographic data wiping protocol. Within 2 days of project sign-off, all client data is permanently shredded. This entirely eliminates long-term data liability for everyone involved.
Finally, Section 6. Industrial Forensics for AI.
It boils down to this stark reality. Accountability is not just a feature, right? It's an absolute industrial requirement. This emphasizes why independent, third-party, black box forensics is no longer optional for regulators and insurers. We're moving from a world of narrative-based ontology to hard science industrial forensics. Relying on big tech companies to grave their own homework, that is just a recipe for a systemic crash.
So I'm going to leave you with a pretty provocative thought, because deciding how you measure the unmeasurable today is absolutely going to define your financial stability tomorrow. As an underwriter or a startup founder, you have to ask yourself, when the liability gap finally closes in, what side of the ledger do you want to be standing on? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to think deeply about how you approach AI risk moving forward.